Welcome to
Working with Tasks in ArcGIS Pro. My name is Wing Cheung and I'm a professor of geography and GIS at Palomar College. In this video, you'll first create a basic layout, and then you'll learn how to create a task to document the workflow to create a map series. This workflow will make use of several tools and commands in ArcGIS Pro. The grid indexed features geoprocessing tool, the map series tool, and also the export PDF tool. If you're not familiar with map series or the tools that I just mentioned, please review the Creating a Map Series video first. If you wish to follow along with the demonstration shown in this video, please download and unzip the file at this web address. What is a task? You can use a task to document steps that are part of a workflow, or you can also use tasks to guide someone through the steps in a workflow, just like the purpose of a recipe. All the steps that are part of a workflow can be included in a task, and various related tasks can be grouped into a single task group. You can also include things like tooltips, instructions, and descriptions along with your task or steps to provide additional guidance to our users. So let's start with first creating a basic layout. To do this, we'll open ArcGIS Pro and start with a new project. And I'm going to be going a little fast in these steps because they're just the fundamental steps that has to do with creating a map series. So again, if you're unfamiliar with creating a map series, please first have a look at the demonstration video. So we'll start by creating a new map. And then I'm going to add in the ortho layer that you can download from the web address that I previously mentioned. The ortho layer is the ones that we want. Once that is added into our map, we're going to insert a new layout. And then we'll insert a map frame. And you can also adjust the zoom level in the map frame here. And I'll also add in some basic map elements. So this is the Alphen Forest Reserve area that we're looking at here. Make it title a little bigger. And then add in other things like our north arrow. And then to complete this very, very basic layout, I'll just add in my name. Okay, so this is our very, very basic layout. Now that we have completed our very basic layout, we'll move on to the second part of this demonstration video, which is creating the actual task To do this, back in ArcGIS Pro, go to the Insert tab and select Task. Select a new task item. And as you can see here in the Task Designer pane, you can give your task item a name. I'll call it Elfin Forest Map Series, after the name of our study area. And I'll also give it a simple description. Once you're done entering the description for the task item, we can go ahead and start adding new tasks. So here I'll call this task create the map series. And as you may recall from what I just said, the task is like a recipe, and within that recipe, there are individual steps. I'll use this record command tool to record each of the steps that needs to go into this task. So click on record commands, and the first step that I need to do in order to create a map series is to create a grid over this study area. So I'm going to find this tool by going to Analysis, Tools, and in Geoprocessing, the tool that I'm looking for is Grid Index Features. Once I click on the tool, you can see the name of that tool automatically populates into the list of steps that I have for the task, because I have this record commands tool on. And then I can also add in additional instructions to help guide the users of this task. And once you're done with that, you can just close the tool. The second step that I need is to add in the map series tool, which is found under the layout tab. So go ahead and click on map series here. And you can see that adds in a map series step. I can add in some instructions here to explain to someone what this step actually is doing. And the next step that I need to do for this task is to export the map series as created. So you notice how my record command tool is still on, because you can see the little red dot next to my arrow. So I'm going to go to Share and click on this layout tool. Close that window, and you can see that export layout step is added to my task. And again, I'll enter some instructions in here. Keep in mind that what we enter in the instruction section can not only be used to help guide our user, but can also remind our users of additional settings or things that they should look out for when they're running these steps in our task. Once you're done with entering the instructions here, you can close this task designer, and that will basically finalize the task that we're building. If at any time you want to change or reconfigure those steps, you can click on this button, the Options hamburger button here, and go to Edit in Designer to get back to that Designer pane that we just closed. So now we have finished building our task. Let's test things out. Double click on the task, and you can see it run the first step, which is the Grid Index Features tool. And I'm going to create this grid, and I'm going to call this Grid 1. The import features is basically the layer that we want to create a grid over. And I'm going to specify the width to be 0.01 miles and the height to be 0.01 miles. This will be the dimension of each of the grid boxes that we're creating. Hit run, and that will run the tool with the parameters that I just entered. And you can see those grid boxes here. And notice how we have finished running step 1 out of 3 steps. I'm going to change the symbology of the grid boxes. The grid boxes to just have black outline. Okay, so there we go. Back to the task. So we have finished running the first step. We can go on to the next step, the map series step. I can hit run, and now open the map series window. I want to create a spatial map series, so there we go. Using grid 1, and I'm going to use the page number to provide the name for each of my map pages. And I'm also going to change the map extent so that each of the map page will zoom closer into the content of each of the grid boxes. Click OK, and there you go. You can see this step number 2 is finished running. Now we can go to the next, and that brings us to step number 3, which is exporting the layout. I can click run, and that opens this export layout tool. I can leave the name as layout, and you can see the instructions that we typed shows up on the step. So it tells us to select PDF as the select as type, and we did that. And then select the correct options for map series in the export options dialog. I may also want to change the resolution here, maybe 150 dots per inch. And I'm going to select all the pages to be exported and click export. And so I'm going to let the tool do its thing. And when the tool is done running, you'll see the step, this third step within our task, will show up as finished. Now we look in our documents folder and open the PDF file. You can see it has generated a map series of our study area using the task that we just built. So now you have finished building your task and running the task to make a map series for one part of Alphen Forest. Let's say, what if you want to use this task to make a map series for your own data or for other parts of Alphen Forest? You can also do that. So we'll go back to ArcGIS Pro. And I would highly recommend that you first save your project. And you go back to the Map tab. and go ahead and add in your own data. This data set is not provided to you because you can just use your own data with the same task that you have just built to create a map series for your own data. So I'm going to zoom to it, and you can see it's a different part of the Elfin Forest Reserve. We also want to use the task tool that we just made to create a map series for that new area. So go ahead and click on the new task tool that you just built. And just like what we did before, it's going to ask us to specify the name for the grid that we're building. So I'm just going to call it grid 2. The input feature will be this new raster layer, ortho 2. And I'm going to use the same parameter as before with regards to the dimension for the grid boxes, and run that. And you can see it creates these grid boxes here in my map. I'm going to change the symbology because so there you go, those black boxes again. Then I'm going to run the next step, right, which is to build the actual map series. And here, right, make sure that the layer is now set to grid 2, and it's going to use the page numbers for the name of the map pages. And the map extent is still set to 1 to 150. So click OK, and that is now done, as you can see from the status bar. One thing that I forgot to do previously in the demo is to add in a dynamic text to show us the page number. We can do that right now. If you go to Insert, go to Dynamic Text, add in this page number here. Make the title bigger also. Okay, so we can move on to the next step, which is exporting the layout that we just built. Oh, and I also have a typo here. Fixed. There you go. So go ahead and run this export layout tool and make sure everything is correct. I'm going to put in my document and call it layout 2. Export options, or all 64 pages of this map series will be exported. And go to export. And just like what we did previously, once the export is done, the dialog here will allow us to click on finish to finish with the task. You can see here's the layout 2 PDF file. There's a dynamic text. You can see the page number updates automatically as I go to different grids. So there we have it. And I hope you enjoyed this video.
To see more demonstration video and resources produced by the Geotech Center, such as the Creating a Map series video, please visit our website at geotechcenter.org. Thank you.